Senator Thune, I believe, is joining us remotely.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thanks for holding today's hearing. I believe that enacting comprehensive privacy legislation should be a top priority of this committee, and since we began privacy conversations in the aftermath of the Cambridge Analytica scandal when I was served as the chairman of the committee, I've stated that there is no question we need a federal law to protect consumers' privacy, and I do not believe we should relinquish our responsibility by simply increasing our federal bureaucracy by putting a significant amount of funding at the FTC, I should say. So it's my hope that we can work together in a bipartisan fashion to establish uniform national policy. I push for more transparency about the algorithms used by big tech companies to analyze consumer data and make predictions intended to influence consumer behavior. Many consumers are unaware that much of the content that they see on the internet platforms is determined by sophisticated algorithms that draw on data about each consumer's online activity. Billions of people are being fed content on internet platforms that is basically selected for them by opaque algorithms designed to keep consumers engaged on the platform. The powerful artificial intelligence behind these platforms creates a unique universe of information for each user, a phenomenon that is often referred to as the filter bubble. Earlier this month, the Wall Street Journal revealed that Facebook altered its opaque algorithm after seeing a decline in user engagement. The change to the algorithm that was intended to optimize user engagement resulted in more divisive and manipulative content being pushed to users. This troubling report is exactly why I introduced the Filter Bubble Transparency Act, and I'm proud to have strong bipartisan support for this bill, with Senators Blumenthal, Blackburn, Moran, Schatz, Warner, Collins, and Klobuchar as co-sponsors. Our legislation would give consumers more transparency about how algorithms are used to select content that they see online, and it would give consumers the option to engage with internet platforms without being manipulated by opaque algorithms. So very quickly, I don't have a lot of time left, a couple of questions here. This is for each of you. Are internet platforms doing enough to provide users the transparency they deserve to make informed decisions about how they interact with the platform's services? Yes or no?
Who wants to
Well,
start?
I'll start and say no, but part of the problem is we're taking it from a compliance perspective. Merely adding another page to a terms of service or a click-through doesn't actually achieve knowledge and doesn't actually allow the user to understand what's going on. So we've got to find a way to solve the problem that just doesn't add another page to a compliance document.
Okay. Yes or no, other members of the panel?
So I agree that legislation could be very beneficial to provide additional transparency to consumers.
There is really no transparency to consumers. So yes, we do need legislation to enable consumers to have a better sense of how decisions are being made.
Senator, no, I don't think enough is being done, and often the companies don't themselves know how their systems work. And that's why it's important not just to have transparency by the companies, but also have resources at the Federal Trade Commission that can verify those claims and those representations. Right now, to my knowledge, while the FTC has great staff and great technologists, there's not a single AI or algorithmic transparency expert at the commission that can verify the claims that companies make. And so to your question of big government, I do think it's important that they have experts and resources to support the great legislation you're proposing.
And very quickly, do you agree that consumers ought to have the ability to use internet platforms like Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube without being manipulated by algorithms designed to keep them engaged on the platform?
Is that to me?
Anybody, just yes or no? Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty straightforward question.
So I'll jump in. So oh, go ahead, David.
No, you go ahead, Ashkan. Sorry.
So I do think that having the ability to at least understand how the system works, and there's algorithmic targeting based on general machine learning of the population and based on your personal data. I think the latter, or so the former, will be harder to limit, but you can provide transparency to it. The latter, targeting and manipulation based on information about you, I think clearly you should have the ability to disable that hyper-personalization and filter bubble activity.
Okay. All right, very quickly, do you all believe that we need a national standard that sets the same rules across the entire United States to ensure consumer protection?
Yes, we need federal preemptive privacy bill.
Yes, I agree.
I agree as well.
I don't think the standard needs to essentially preempt the states, but allow experimentation in the states, particularly because there's a bunch of different approaches and issues here. So as long as the standard can allow states to go further, then sure.
Thank you all. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Senator